In this part of the module, I will share a lesson plan based on a YouTube video from one of my papers on ICT in the classroom, which will give you a fair idea of the approach you can adopt. This is a sample lesson plan for students of economics with pre and post observation tasks along with a while observation task sheet which the learners will attempt as they watch the video. So, we have a sample lesson plan, a pre-observation, and the first stage is that of lead-in. Lead-in, as you know, is an introductory activity which leads students into the topic. So, as part of the lead-in, the teacher puts students in 3 groups and assigns a topic of discussion to each group. Now, here are the instructions to each group. They are asked to make 3 lists of goods, prices of which have risen, fallen, and remained more or less constant during the recent past. B. Does price rise affect all groups of people in the same way? Who do you think are affected more by a rise in food grain prices? Discuss reasons for this. C. Come up with your views on the rate of interest offered on deposits in general by banks. Now, these are the pointers for the initial discussion which is happening in groups even before the teacher has introduced the topic in class. Stage 2 is feedback and consolidation, where the teacher asks each group to share what they discussed. So, after allowing 5 to 10 minutes of discussion time, the teacher asks each group to consolidate, to summarize the discussion and feedback to the rest of the class. 1 or 2 members from each group summarize while the rest of the class listens. After the summarizing, the teacher relates the discussions to economic concepts like inflation, erosion of value of money, and other relevant concepts. Now, this that you see is a while observation task. So, we are in the 3rd stage where learners are viewing and attempting the observation task sheet. So, they are watching the video on dosa economics and they are simultaneously attempting the questions on the while observation task sheet. So, the learners watch the video and attempt the task. What does the observation task sheet say? It checks the factual or the conceptual understanding of the learners. So, it says watch the video and say if the following are true or false. A pensioner can have more buying power despite low rate of interest on deposits. Rate of interest on savings is the only determining factor of purchasing power. Inflation has no effect on principal. The real value of the principal is lower when the inflation is high. The rate of inflation plays a crucial role in determining the value of the principal. So, these are all issues that are addressed and that are touched in the video. Now, we are in the next stage, which is post observation, stage 4. Stage 4 is all about feedback and consolidation. The teacher asks the learners to check their answers in the observation task sheet in pairs, followed by whole class feedback, as in learners check what they have written in pairs and then they discuss with the entire class and with the teacher. After this comes extended discussion, where the teacher says the above video tells us that the effect of a change in the interest rate on purchasing power depends on the ruling inflation rate. The teacher asks the students in groups, and this is the extension task. She asks the students in groups to collaborate and make a matrix of different combinations of price and interest changes, showing its effect on purchasing power as presented in the clip on dosa economics. Now this was the lesson. Reflection time. Now a reflection of the sample lesson plan which I've just shared with you will indicate that an audio visual input can serve an academic purpose if it is suitably adapted and used to supplement a lesson or convey a concept. The teacher, however, needs to structure the lesson logically around the resource and ensure that there are certain learning points and concepts that are being conveyed through the clip. A mere playing of the clip and insisting that students ought to watch it will not serve the purpose or meet the objective, because there is a high possibility of students getting distracted or switching off. An observation task should always have a purpose or an objective. The student should know why she or he is being made to watch the video, and this objective should be explained right at the start. However, before the actual observation, it is important that the teacher does some schema building. In other words, she stages an activity or a task that will lead the students into the audio-visual input. The teacher can do this by initiating a discussion on the lines of the audio-visual input, or she can give some pointers or present a situation similar to the one in the input and ask students to respond to it. The pre-observation task should have a link with the input and logically flow into the observation stage. Similarly, the purpose or the objective of the while observation stage should be to assess how much the student has been able to comprehend from the input. If the input has been intended to convey a certain concept or a theory, then the while observation sheet should have tasks focusing on this aspect. In other words, what is commonly known as concept check questions or CCQs. The post-observation task should round up the lesson, and this stage should ensure that all doubts are ironed out through adequate and appropriate consolidation and explanation. It should also reinforce the concepts conveyed in the input session through the observation. Now let's look at some of the benefits of each stage. A pre-observation task is necessary because A. It generates interest in what is to come. It acts as a lead-in to the topic. So it sensitizes learners to the topic, in other words. And C. It gets learners to be attentive and ensures that they are both physically and mentally present. Following could be the objectives of a while observation task: to check comprehension of the students of the concept introduced, to ensure learner engagement with the input, to make the session learner-centered, to enable learner autonomy, as the students are watching and attempting the task without the teacher's interference or guidance. They are relying solely on their ability to understand after all. To allow equal opportunity to perform to all the learners, as everyone is attempting the task at the same time, and there is no intellectual hierarchy that privileges one learner over the other. Post-observation tasks develop the following: productive skills of speaking and writing through discussions or written assignments. Post-observation tasks are like extension activities, so they are also application based. Lastly, they help in reinforcing concepts and ideas. Let's look at some of the benefits of audio-visual inputs. There are certain benefits of audio-visual resources which are listed as you can see them. Well, they are a rich resource of language and knowledge both. They are easily available and they can be easily sourced. They add or they enable variety in the teaching approach, and they cater to the visual learner. They can be even adapted for home assignments. They are also cost effective, so they are economic to use. They are updated and they have the latest information. They also offer us a 360-degree perspective of things, so they are not biased or subjective in that sense. They prompt students to think creatively and critically. They develop problem solving approaches in students. They are also informative and entertaining. Another rich resource that we can incorporate in our classroom teaching is apps. An app is a resource that enables us to do the same things we do manually or online. We all know what apps are, right? So, what we do manually, we can do the same things online comfortably on our phones and at our convenience. When we are online, we have to browse, go to a particular link, open the website and then do whatever we want to. On the other hand, an app minimizes all these steps. Apps have made life and routine activities much simpler and easier. Apps have changed the way we look, the way our house looks, the way we pay our bills and manage our finances, the way we shop, the way we travel. So there is every reason why they can and they should change the way we teach and learn. A lot of learning that happens in today's times is self-learning with the help of apps. The instructions and the structure of the apps are both interesting and easy to follow, which is why all of us, not only the youth but all of us who are on the phone, we find it so riveting and we prefer to actually get our things done in a virtual world. There are various apps that come at a very affordable cost which one can easily download, and most of them are also free and make functional in their phone. These apps are attractive, interestingly designed and user-friendly. There are a variety of educational apps that focus on a range of learners with different learning needs. There are also apps that focus on disciplines. Apps save time, they are easy to operate and they take less effort. They also don't eat up a lot of mobile space and they are user friendly. Some apps work online, but there are many apps that function offline too, so one doesn't need a net connection or mobile data all the time. An activity through an app can easily act as a filler. So even if one is waiting for a bus or is at the doctor's, one can use the app and play 1 or 2 rounds. Apps are generally designed in such a way that they are fun and interesting and the feedback is immediate. So motivation is not a problem once learners get into the habit of using apps. Apps can be used to give home assignments and also as extension tasks that go beyond the classroom. The teacher can use exercises in the app as a lead-in, as consolidation, for further practice, to focus on a particular skill, subject matter or area. Today's learners are addicted to their phones, one way or the other. So it is good to capitalize on this addiction to enable knowledge and information sharing. So I'd like to share one educational app with you just to give you an idea as to how to go about it. An app, for instance, like Basic Economics is highly functional and gives a basic overview of economic terms, micro and macroeconomics, international economics, the history of economic thought and so on and so forth. Apps like these, which offer subject overviews, can serve as pocket guides to learners, enabling them to access information and get into a learning and receiving mode whenever they want to, without restricting them to the confines of a classroom. So, in this session, we have closely looked at the structure and rationale of a video-based lesson on economics, and which is clearly adaptable because the structure remains common for whatever discipline you are handling. We have seen the role of pre, while and post observation tasks to make learners engage with the input. We have reflected on the takeaways from such a lesson, and we have considered apps as an academic resource for various purposes.